Friends, over the past few days, a series of events unfolded that didn't just shake Bangladesh, but also forced India's neighboring countries to rethink what could happen if India ever decides to show displeasure. It all started with a statement. Muhammad Yunus, an advisor to Bangladesh's interim government, made a controversial remark regarding India's northeast that sparked a wave of anger across the country. But India didn't respond with noise, no press conferences, no fiery speeches. It replied with a notification. And that notification stunned Bangladesh. India suddenly withdrew a facility that had been earning Bangladesh crores every month, the Transshipment facility. That single decision brought Bangladesh to its knees. The trucks that earlier used Indian territory to transport goods to Europe and America now stood stranded at the borders, fully loaded but far from their destinations. Some even had to turn back. You might be wondering, what exactly was this transshipment? That was the very secret that had bolstered Bangladesh's economy. Since 2020, India had allowed Bangladesh to transport its goods to third countries through Indian ports and airports. This meant that without traveling long distances or incurring high costs, Bangladesh could ship its clothes, machines, and other exports across the world swiftly. Bangladesh's own ports were limited and overcrowded, but India's support made everything seamless. This facility had especially supercharged the textile sector. Being the world's second largest exporter of ready-made garments, 84% of Bangladesh's export earnings depended on this. And today, that very sector is gripped by fear. Within just a few hours of India's decision, yes, within hours, many trucks were stopped from entering Indian territory. Several shipments heading to Bhutan and Europe were turned back mid-route. Everything came to a standstill. Imagine a scene where thousands of tons of goods used to take off daily from Indian airports, and now there's just silence. The facility that Bangladesh was enjoying was snatched away in an instant. But India didn't do this out of revenge. It was a message, a warning. India made it clear that it won't let anyone misuse its land, its policies, or its dignity. Some major Bangladeshi businessmen have been saying the impact will unfold slowly. But the reality is, the effects have already begun. The trucks halted midway, the delayed orders, the clients turning away. And the scariest part is, if this halt continues for long, Bangladesh might lose its position in the global market. The most shocking twist in the tale was discovering that India wasn't even making any direct economic gains from this facility. Yet it had continued offering it, for the sake of friendly relations with Bangladesh. But when friendship is returned with insult, India does not remain silent. The step India took wasn't just about cutting off a facility, it was a message, a quiet yet powerful response. And now, the world is watching how India's silence can shake nations. The question now is, will Bangladesh recover from this blow? Was Muhammad Yunus's comment merely a slip or a calculated move? And will India reverse its decision? When we look deeper into this entire episode, we find that this wasn't a direct confrontation. It was a strike from beneath the surface. India didn't wage war, nor did it engage in loud rhetoric. But what it did is potentially more devastating. It could gradually erode Bangladesh's economy from the inside. Let's talk about the future. In the coming weeks, Bangladesh's export orders may begin to drop, especially from clients who value timely delivery above all. When a country's goods don't arrive on time, international buyers start looking for new suppliers. And once a client is lost, it's extremely difficult to win them back. India understands this, that the deepest wounds are the ones inflicted silently. No noise, just impact. Now Bangladesh's government will try to appease India, but this time India might only talk with conditions. India will want to make it clear that using its land and facilities doesn't give anyone the right to make reckless statements and still continue doing business as usual. Every word will now come at a cost. One more interesting possibility for the future is that India might strengthen its position as a trade gateway for the region. This whole situation presents India with an opportunity to build its logistics and infrastructure in a way that smaller countries are compelled to depend on it. But India would now offer such facilities only with terms. Simultaneously, India is sending an undeclared message to all its neighbors that if you cross limits in friendship, we will close the road. And this isn't just about Bangladesh. It's a warning for Nepal, Maldives, Sri Lanka too. The most intriguing aspect is that this decision could also shake Bangladesh's internal politics. Leaders like Yunus could face public outrage because people will see that one irresponsible statement led to their country's economic backbone being broken. And this growing dissatisfaction could shape the future political landscape of Bangladesh. We might even see a new political coalition or change emerge in the name of restoring relations with India. What lies ahead could be even more fascinating. Bangladesh might gradually find itself isolated on the international stage. Until now, it had relied on India's friendship to compensate for its geographic disadvantages. But when that trust begins to falter, Bangladesh may be compelled to lean toward countries like China or Turkey. And that's the turning point where Bangladesh's foreign policy and internal situation could both become highly unstable. Another possibility is that India might use this event as a launch pad to quickly develop its northeast region into an alternative trade hub. India would want to reduce its dependency on any neighboring country in the future. Areas like the Siliguri corridor, the Assam-Bangladesh border, and Mizoram could now see major investments in logistics infrastructure being developed, creating viable alternatives to Bangladesh. Bangladeshi industrialists and exporters, who until now stayed away from political narratives, might now begin pressuring their government to resolve the issue with India. In other words, politics in Bangladesh could now split into two camps, one that will ride the wave of nationalism and speak against India, and another that will advocate compromise with India for economic survival. And the biggest twist could come if India begins back-channel diplomacy with opposition parties in Bangladesh, so that if there's a power shift, India has a more favorable environment to deal with. That is the true art of soft power. It doesn't make noise, but it quietly changes everything. This entire episode has also taught India a valuable lesson, that friendships must now come with conditions. Meaning, in the future, India might redesign its access policy entirely based on strict rules and political silence, allowing only those nations to use Indian territory or facilities that refrain from anti-India rhetoric.